This is Jane Durst Pulkys, and welcome to the show Awaken Nation with Brad Solis.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up, tired of the way things used to be. They are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Solis, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things to Awakened Nation. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I have an extraordinary guest today that was introduced to me by Ann Archer Butcher, good friend of mine. And I'm just blown away by the work that she does. Good morning, Jane. And we'll get this right. Jane Durst Pulkys. Welcome to Awaken Nation.
Thank you so much, Brad, for having me on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome. Folks, I want you to buckle up and I want you to go get a piece of paper and a pen, because some of you might be blaming your health state on aging. You might be blaming it on all kinds of things. And I'm going to tell you, it's probably not any of those things that are causing it. And Jane is going to reveal the super secret to why we have inflammation, obesity, and all kinds of things. And we've heard this 100 times in America. But this work that she's doing is all over the world in 40 countries. And I'm just so honored to have you on the show, because we're going to take a deep dive into health and how it starts with nutrition. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, Brad, I came into this world with such a curiosity for nutrition, with 8 brothers and sisters and a farmer that delivered food to our house. And, during the 60s, we're eating all that stuff. But then slowly, all that fast, frozen, fried, junk, processed foods start to invade our family. Then we consumed crap, carbonated, refined, addictive, and processed. And people were, buying things in bag boxes, pickup window, vending machine had barcodes on it. And as a nutritionist at the age of 21 and until now, it's bamboozled me that people still are struggling with weight issues, with inflammation issues, with so much food available to us, especially in North America. I mean, we can get raspberries in February from Peru, and you know what I mean? Like we all know what's healthy, but we're choosing the wrong foods. And a lot of that has to blame on the food manufacturer. So I have made it my mission to awaken people to true health. And for me personally, that looks like, I'm going to be 66 this year. And I have to tell you, I have energy, 15 out of 10. I sleep like a baby. I exercise every day. And it's our birthright to feel amazing. And most people just have no idea even where to start. So this is part of the reason why I decided to write this book.
Well, folks, I want to give you a little bit of Jane's background real quick, because the reason I wanted you on the show, Jane, when Ann introduced me, I was like, yes, I want to have Jane on. Jane Durst Pulkys is a PhD, a holistic nutritionist, and she's the author of this great book, The Metabolic Balance Kitchen: Deliciously Satisfying Recipes to Reset Your Metabolism, Fight Inflammation, and Lose Weight. And it's coming out this December 2024. We're recording right now in the middle of October. Her new book is based on the premier European nutritional program, a revolutionary and scientifically proven approach to reduce inflammation, balance hormones, and reset the metabolism. Metabolic Balance is in over 45 countries with 1.5 million successful clients. Woohoo! That's awesome. And is currently being launched in the United States with the release of the Metabolic Balance Kitchen. Read more at janehealthcoach.com. And we're going to be talking today about how to reduce inflammation. We talked about better sleep, resetting your metabolism, balance hormones, achieve your optimal health, live a healthier, happier life. And I wanted to get started with this. You have a great quote at the beginning of the book, by the way. Uh, this book is dedicated to you, the reader.
Hmm.
As they say in my hot yoga class, you're never too old, you're never too bad, never too late, never too sick. There is always a way to regain and maintain your balance and happiness. And I love how you started that. Let's start with you touched on this as a kid in the 60s.
Hmm.
And you and I are similar in age because I can reflect on this. And a lot of people who listen to my show are, we're boomers and older Gen Xers. There was that moment where you talk about going out and getting fruits and vegetables and hiding two bananas under your bed because
Yeah,
your brothers and sister would steal
yeah,
your stash, let's call it.
yeah,
But science, chemistry started to creep into our lives, telling us we have a better way. And this is just a lie. So let's start with that. You started to gain weight during this
yeah.
period.
Yeah, I started to gain weight. I started having serious constipation issues, and back in the day, you didn't really go to your mom. You kind of tried to
No.
figure it out yourself, and you certainly didn't talk to your friends. But I figured it out, and it was, well, my mom helped me. And it was from that day forth that I thought, you know what, nutrition really, really inspires me. And I had such a curiosity to want to know more. So ended up going off and getting a degree in nutrition, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how my practice started. But that degree in nutrition was very scientific. It really actually didn't teach me how to eat properly. I could recite the Krebs cycle. I could draw all the amino acids. I could tell you how much cornflakes, how much iron is in cornflakes from one of the lab experiments that we did. But there was no emphasis on, is cornflakes, let's use that as an example, actually good for you? And I
Yeah.
always had this deep feeling that the only way that we're going to survive as a society is if we are eating real whole foods. Now, it was convenient and people are in a hurry, but I raised three boys and we didn't use a lot of these processed foods. We just simply made, the
Mm-hmm.
quinoa, the chicken, the broccoli, and the microwave was not something that was part of our regime at
Yeah.
home. So really, really tried to, emphasize whole foods, healthy, lots of water, lots of exercise. And then fast forward, I was trying to make up menus for my clients. But what I was missing was I didn't actually consider the biochemistry of each individual because you have a different metabolism than I do.
Right.
You have different nutritional requirements. Let's say somebody always has a headache. Well, we know that there's either a deficiency of something or they're eating something that's bothering them. And
Right.
when I was introduced in 2013 to Dr. Wolf Funfack from Germany, who's the founder of Metabolic Balance, honest to God, Brad, my mouth came open. I was like, this is the magic bullet that I have been looking for all these years as a nutritionist,
Wow.
because it is a scientific program that is customized and individualized for each person based off their 36 blood values and the personal health history. So I can have any client. I had a client walk in the door yesterday, 303 pounds, 36 years old, no longer has a period. She just wants to feel good and lose 100 pounds. So it doesn't matter if she's 2 pounds over or 100 pounds over. This program works for every single person because once we calculate the right foods based off of her body metabolism and the blood values, she's going to get herself on a metabolic balance program that's going to help her to drop those 100 pounds. But not only that, it's going to give her lifelong skills to she will be able to use for the rest of her life. So it's not like she goes in the program and then she goes back to normal eating. She will never want to eat the way that she ate before, because she now will be more in tune with how her body feels. I mean, I even asked her yesterday, what'd you have for lunch? A box of Kraft dinner. Well, I think I had Kraft dinner in 19. You know what I mean? So, and it's a fast thing. She's just grabbing it, but she just didn't understand. And she trusts, like everybody else, she's trusting the food manufacturers to put something in that box that is actually nutritious.
I find this fascinating because in America, they don't teach doctors anything about nutrition. And
No.
we've discovered that 70% of our diseases, come from the way we eat and how we eat.
Hmm.
And I'm always astounded at, I use this statistic and it's very old, believe it or not. There's probably much more on this list. It's from Dr. Scholl's, who does the herb doc, not the foot doctor, the
Hmm.
herb doctor. He said uh, there are 14,000 carcinogenic chemicals in our food supply here in the United States. And by the way, there are 30 countries that will not accept any food from the United States. And you see the lists of our ingredients compared to the European version of, let's say, Jif peanut butter. There's like 4 ingredients in Jif in Europe. And in the United States, it's like 36. Don't quote me on that, but there's at least 12,
Yeah.
mostly chemicals, preservatives, and things like this. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, what do you think it does to the body? And the other side of this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pointed out that the FDA has approved, and many of these companies that manufacture food, we have a manufacturing industry with the food, um, they put addictive chemicals in these boxes and cans to get you addicted to and crave wanting the worst thing in the
Hmm.
world for your physical body. And
Hmm.
so I've just always been astounded by that. We're going to talk about what metabolic diet, what a metabolic diet is. But
Okay.
I wanted to touch on that real quick. How do you help clients um, get rid of the addiction? Because it's hard to go from McDonald's and Burger King to fresh salmon, let's say. That doesn't come easy. How do you help them?
Well, there's really two kinds of addictions. One is addicted to salt, and the other one is addicted to sugar. So when somebody is craving high amounts of salt, it tends to be related to their level of stress. So if the adrenal glands are putting out too much cortisol, the one thing that comforts people is salty products. So that's
Right.
potato chips, that's cookie, those types of things. When it comes to sugar, I want you to think of this for a second, Brad. Between your mouth and your bum, you have one pipe.
Right.
And in that pipe is full of healthy bacteria. You have around 80% healthy bacteria, 20% bad. This is what keeps our ratios healthy. We need a little bit of good and we need a little bad. But when people start to consume too many sugary foods, and God knows you just have to walk down my street and pick up a ice frap. It's unbelievable what people are drinking. Um, when they consume too much of that, they displace the healthy bacteria and more of the unhealthy bacteria start to live there. When that happens, people start to crave sugar. So one bite of that cookie is not going to satisfy them.
Right.
But when you start nourishing the body with the food that it needs, with the right amount of protein, the right amount of fat, and the right amount of carbohydrates, you start to put back that balance of bacteria. And you also manage your stress too, because if you're so many reasons why we're stressed, but the program itself gets people to lose their cravings. And I can honestly tell you, clients start the program in 3 weeks, they're like, oh my God, I got to go on a cruise. They come back and they're like, well, I went to the vegetable aisle and I got the avocado and the mango and the chicken and I walked right past the dessert aisle. It's like, to me, that's amazing because the cravings literally disappeared. And I too am like that. I'll eat it if you serve it to me, but I'm not going to go hunting for it because when
Yeah.
your nutritional requirements for your fat, protein, and carbohydrates are met fully and wholly with whole foods, you really do crave much less.
Wow. I'm laughing over here because I'm feeling a bit triggered when you talk about salt and sugar. How dare you? Yeah, because I definitely had an adrenal problem. It's ongoing, actually. I internalize a lot of stress. And if you ever stood with me in person, a lot of people think I'm very zen calm, when in reality, it's all in here, baby.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and so my favorite go-to stress item to eat 30, 40 years ago was chocolate covered pretzels.
Oh,
Which
okay.
it's like, now that I look back on it, it's a nice treat, but not a
Yeah,
whole bag.
yeah,
It's like, and I find that the adrenal craving right away is salt and sugar together
yeah.
for me. Yeah.
And what's your go-to now?
Actually, what do I do now? I do have protein bars that I
Okay.
eat. Um, and I'll tell you, and those of you listening, I'm just going to bear all. I was one of these not so bright people. My dad was a chiropractor, as many of you who follow the show know. Learned a little bit about nutrition, but through the years, I just was like, my body is a tank, it can take anything. So one day I'd be eating at Burger King, and the next day I'd be having brown rice with couscous and seaweed, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. And I can drink tons of soda, and it doesn't matter. And I was training in jujitsu, so I wasn't heavy, but I was never six pack abs, thin either. And I realized, I went to the dentist and I had periodontal disease. And a
Wow.
lot of people think that is just the mouth. Well, it's not. It's a bigger problem. I found out through Dr. Joel Wallach and Dr. Randy Shannon. That's osteoporosis of the
Mhm.
skull and the whole body. So my body was starting to respond to my abuse, is really what it was. And it's the common American diet. People don't realize this, but um, colas are their main ingredient is phosphoric acid, and
Yeah,
that eats at your bones. So I've spent the last probably 5 to 7 years reversing all of that. And I know how to reverse it. And meeting someone like you is just this extra wonderful piece of information that we can all add to our own experimentation. Because, folks, you do not have to age the way you've been taught to age. You can look around, look at us, I mean, we're in our 60s and I can run up a set of stairs. I don't have any pain when I do squats or any. I actually have no body pains. And people are like, huh, how do you do that? I have
hmm,
friends who are my age. They can't do a squat. They can't bend. Their knees are shot. And I'm just like, well, what are you eating? It's a hoagie once a week and a soda. And you're like, yeah, those things are catching up. So I have to
yeah.
ask this question. What is a metabolic diet? What is all of this metabolysis, I guess we would call it? Um,
So, yeah, a metabolic balance diet is a program, again, it was created by Dr. Wolf Funfak in Germany. It's designed specifically to lower inflammation. And we now know that inflammation is responsible for 90% of the diseases today.
yeah.
It's to reset your metabolism, it's to balance out your insulin levels, and it helps people to lose weight. And it's done for each person around the world. Each person gets their own customized and individualized program based off of the size of their waist, their hip, and their thigh. Because
Hmm.
you see, Brad, the size of the waist is really critically important in understanding metabolic problems. If we take a measuring tape and measure at the waist of a female, at the belly button, if the number exceeds 35 inches for a female and 40 for a male, they have too much of this fat called visceral fat.
Hmm.
You have four fats in your body: brown, white, subcutaneous, and visceral. But the most dangerous fat of all is the one that's right behind the belly button. Because what it does is it puts out inflammatory cytokines into your system and puts us at a risk factor of developing heart disease, diabetes, cardiovascular problems, and blood lipid disorders. So high blood pressure is a metabolic problem. So
I see.
we're designed to do that. So client goes off to the lab, we get a full blood panel back, and one of the numbers we look at specifically is their CRP. Now, many doctors really kind of ignore that number, but it's critical because it indicates the level of inflammation in a person's body.
Sorry to interrupt. What is CRP?
CRP stands for C-reactive protein.
Got it.
And in Canada here, we want that number to be less than 5. I have clients who've been up to 40. So they have a lot of inflammation in their body. Now, where people think inflammation, I don't have it. It's not just red and hot and inflamed. If you sometimes look at someone's abdomen where it's protruding out and almost looks like you could take a pin and it could burst, there's a
Right.
lot of inflammation in there. Inflammation in the legs where the legs are swollen, inflammation in our face where we're swollen, pain. These are all signs of inflammation. So the client goes to the lab. Then we fill out a personal health history, looking at any medications they're on, any things like headaches, thyroid issue. Do you have a gallbladder? Do you have menopausal symptoms? Do you sleep? Whatever it is. So then all this information now I send off to Germany. Germany creates programs for 45 countries around the world in different languages. Then what comes back to each person, to the coach, which is me, each coach gets the program for that client. So after doing over 1,400 of these plans, nobody has the same program.
Wow.
They get their own individual program, but there are 8 suggestions or rules, we like to call them, that will help them not only achieve their goal, but this will teach them for the rest of their life what to do. And they're very simple. So it's 3 meals a day, 5 hours between meals. And I suggest your listeners try this today. It's amazing. You'll feel like a different person. So 3 meals a day, 5 hours between meals, maximum 7, 1 protein at each meal. Because if I give you chicken and put cheese on your salad, that's 2 proteins. That's going to make you over acid. And when a person's over acidic, they can't lose weight. Okay.
Oh.
We're having 1 apple a day because that lowers uric acid, lowers the cholesterol. We're starting each meal with 2 bites of protein. So for the rest of your life, if you can remember this, you'll eat less food. If you're having tonight a steak, a sweet potato, and broccoli, have 2 bites of the steak first. If you're having a tofu pilaf, have 2 bites of tofu first. If you're having eggs and strawberries in a coffee tomorrow morning, 2 bites of eggs first. That stops the release of insulin. Because the reason we have metabolic syndrome is people's insulin levels are too high.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was on your list of 8 things that, bring you into metabolic balance. That was the one, number 4, that caught my eye, the 2 bites of protein. And I'm glad you brought that up because I love to do like more of a paleo keto kind of diet. And I was wondering about that. Someone said, I eat vegetables first, but I like this idea of protein first. And yeah, thank you. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and I'll explain that to you. So when you take 2 bites of protein, insulin is not released immediately. A different hormone called glucagon is released. Huh. So then you basically kind of shut down insulin. What you're trying to do through the day is not have your insulin spiking like this all day, because that's when you're going to gain weight, but more flatline it. Right. So if somebody makes a shake with raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, almond milk, whatever, and they drink it, what happens, Brad? There's so much sugar in that drink that the body takes it, and insulin levels are going to go crazy. So we're not even a shake person here. We just want to have those 2 bites of protein first. Right. We don't want to have the same protein twice in one day. So you don't want to have chicken for lunch and chicken for dinner. Mm-hmm. And you can't allow a meal to last longer than an hour. You'll see people in the office, they come in with a shake at 9 o'clock and they finish at 11:30. So basically insulin levels have been high for 2.5 hours. And when the insulin levels are high, you always get into fat gaining as opposed to fat burning. Huh. So they get their rules, they get their customized plan. Now the food does have to be weighed because it provides us the exact science of protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Now here's the beauty of it. And a lot of my clients like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. The average weight loss in the first 2 weeks is 5 to 20 pounds. especially if they have it's true, honest to God. The most I've ever seen is 24 pounds.
Wow.
And a lot of it's because people don't drink water.
Huh.
So I had a client yesterday. She has to drink 4 liters of water in her first 16 days. She's going to lose a lot of weight because it's going to flush the toxins. People,
Wow.
that's another thing. You and I growing up, we didn't carry a water bottle around with us,
No.
but everybody's carrying a water bottle around with them, and we do need to consume quite a bit of it to stay hydrated and lubricated. You want to be able to have that. So we
Yeah.
make sure. So they lose this weight pretty fast. And the nice thing about this program too is I do a before picture and after picture. Their face changes quite a bit because inflammation actually ages people too.
It does. Very
And
much so.
a lot of people come to me and say, I've had this problem for years and years and years, and you're my last hope. But a lot of them have just given up and just succumbed to, well, I need to be on Lyrica for the rest of my life, or I need to be on this for the rest of my life. I'll tell you, type 2 diabetes is 100% reversible on this program.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I had a client, 50 years old, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, and full on fatty liver disease. Doctor said, you're an alcoholic. He said, I'm not. He goes, yes, you are. You got to change your diet or you're going to die. Like, he was pretty graphic with him.
Right.
I put him on the metabolic balance program. The doctor called me and said, I don't know what you did, but I need to meet you at the hospital. So come and see me. So it's like, so nice to meet you, Dr. Cohen. It's like, this works. He says, oh, thank God somebody's doing something like this. But the plan
Wow.
works. And then we encourage them to exercise after the 16 days, so do a bit of cleanse. They still continue with their program, but they have their own food that are specifically chosen for them. Now, if they deviate and go off and have a piece of cake or a bag of chips, because it happens, they almost immediately feel pain in their hands. They didn't sleep properly. They just feel it's like, you know what? I'm glad you had that experience because now you know that tomatoes are not good for you. And we know when there's a lot of inflammation, tomatoes and meat products and dairy products are often taken away because they can be quite inflammatory.
It's amazing how diet can change your life. And for those of you listening, I grew up in Pennsylvania. And so we had a lot of heavier foods, as part of our culture. We had scrapple in the morning. If you don't know what scrapple is, that's the meat byproducts from pigs that they don't allow in hot dogs. Just so
Oh.
you know, mixed with cornmeal, and we were probably one of the only places in the United States where you serve stuffing, mashed potatoes, and corn together. There's like three starches and simplex carbohydrates. And I love the foods I grew up with, but they are causing not only inflammation but weight gain. And I know a lot of people listening to the show, you know, they want to lose weight. Well, weight loss, whether you're a man or a woman, begins with the work that Jane is talking about here, and it's the result of, you know what I mean? Like I tell people, pain and wrinkles and gray hair has gone away on my physical body. And that's not me going, look at my hair. It's more like this is the result of changing things. This is the result of, okay, I don't need cola and I don't need smart water and I don't need any of those things. I
Mhm.
just need pure water, good vegetables, good proteins. And I want to talk about this because this is amazing. Most people don't know this, but the apple a day keeps the doctor away. You talk about this in the book, but apples are like the third American cash crop since we started this country. Cannabis was actually number one. All the sailing ships had canvas. That's where we get the word canvas from. Um, sails and ropes made from cannabis and hemp. And then it was tobacco. And then finally, apples. Apples are like American, baby. It is the most American thing because we have like hundreds of different types of apple trees across this country. It's probably our number one export. So you talked about this because it alkalines the body. Is that correct?
Well, apples also provide, they help to reduce uric acid, which can cause gout, and they can also help to lower your cholesterol. Plus, there's no other fruit that contains as many phytonutrients as an apple. Now, Brad, it's not just any apple. We all love Honeycrisp, we all love those ones, but we're talking, sorry to ruin your fun, we're talking about the tart apples, like Granny
Yes.
Smith, the Royal Gallus, the Macintosh, like Canadians are famous for that. And it's funny because even where I live, and I live in a very nice neighborhood where people are very conscientious, I don't see people buying apples that much anymore.
Yeah, it really astounds me,
Yeah,
because the axiom, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I've known that since I was a kid, and it is a truism. And yeah, I am kind of shocked. They do eat apples, but it's usually in the form of apple pie
yeah,
loaded with sugar. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But there's just so much available that they'll go off and eat the $10 raspberries, right? So it's just,
right.
but the apple is one of the cheaper fruits. And that's the unique thing about metabolic balance because there's no food waste. The actual preparation of the food is so simple. People
Yeah,
come back to me and say, "This is the easiest thing I've ever done. I've down my 65 pounds. I've never felt better. I have a brand new wardrobe. I don't want to have to sleep in the middle of the afternoon. My skin conditions, eczema, psoriasis has all disappeared. And I know that if I fall off the wagon, I just get back on my plan again." So it's that simple.
yeah. Now, I've been a big fan of eating right for your blood type, the work of Dr. Peter Diadamo.
Yeah.
What do you do about that? I mean, what have you found in the metabolic balancing of people? Do you lean into those according to blood type, or do you just that's not
It's funny because I have his book too. And I was a big advocate of it. I'm a blood type O negative, so I know
me
that I
too.
need physical activity. I need to eat the meat. I think there definitely is some truth to it, but in regards to metabolic balance, they do not take that into consideration.
Okay,
They're actually creating the programs based off of the blood
yeah,
values and the medical history.
right. So you and I have that in common. We're blood type O negative. And
Yeah,
so it's the type of protein that is important to our bodies and how much,
yeah,
a blood type B, let's say from Africa, can get by on 4 ounces of steak, let's say, whereas we may need 6 to 8 ounces of steak at a sitting.
yeah,
It's a huge difference. And our body structure is different. Our thyroid is slower. So we have to avoid corn because corn
yeah,
slows down the thyroid, and our stomach acid is much higher so that we can digest protein. So
yeah,
I was curious about that if you have studied that at all, because
yeah. No, and I I know this sounds crazy. Nothing makes me feel more content than having a big steak.
me too.
I just feel so good when I eat that. Steak, broccoli, and sweet potatoes, like who doesn't like that?
I know.
And because I find that if I don't get that high quality protein, and I obviously did a plan too, and mine was it was perfect for me. If I don't get the high quality protein, I'm hungry.
Me too.
So yeah, so I need to make sure that I get the good proteins.
Well, for those of you who are listening and you're wondering what we're talking about, I have noticed for myself, this was years ago because I'm hanging out with a spiritual group that you and I have in common, and everybody's eating like couscous, and they're and I'm like, I must be missing something, and I
Yeah,
started eating like them, and so for about 2 years, I'm eating very clean, very healthy, avoiding meat, and when I had meat, I'd have chicken and, I'm thinking I'm hot stuff. And then all of a sudden, I got really sick with the flu and I was confused because blood type O's we rarely get sick.
hmm.
And for like a week, I'm like, and I had to go to work. We're around the holidays, around Christmas time. And that's when we get the big rush for all this work. I do big corporate meetings back then. And so a buddy of mine goes, "Hey, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. I'm not going to see you. Let me take you out to dinner." I'm like, dude, I am feeling horrible. I got to go home and get a nap. He goes, "No, seriously, this is our holiday dinner. Let me take you out." So we trudge around the corner to the local diner. And I just said, pardon me, F it. And I ordered a big meatloaf sandwich and pea soup and all this. No, and I'm just like stuffing my face. And in less than 15 minutes, I felt incredible because it's beef. And I'm sitting up and I'm talking and I'm feeling great. And I go, oh, I'm a meat eater. I can't
Yeah,
be a vegan. And
yeah,
I talk to people all the time. I see this big push for veganism, and I love veganism. I'm not knocking it,
yeah.
but I've learned it doesn't fit everybody's blood type or body type or metabolism. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, but also I need to mention, so let's say I'm an O and I have inflammation. Immediately the meat's going to be taken off my program
Yes.
because to help me with that.
Mhm.
So Metabolic Balance Germany, they will work with us to make sure that the client gets the perfect combinations of the protein, fats, carbohydrates, because and even some clients, they want more of a vegan friendly diet, which I have no problem with, but they're
Right.
not satisfied because it doesn't have a lot of fat. And then, of course, in order to get your B12, something has to walk, like an animal has to walk. So you need
Right.
to get that B12 in there. It's a bit tricky sometimes, but um, the way I look at this, it's a temporary solution to a long-term problem, especially thyroid issues. For a lot of people, they have a lot of thyroid issues. So we put them on this program, and they have to eat a certain way for a certain length of time until things start to balance out. Then they can go back to their semi-normal eating habits, but bearing in mind they're still following the 8 rules as well, because they're still wanting to keep the metabolism reset and their hormones balanced and to keep that weight off. So,
Yeah. I love what you're doing. And folks, I want you to reach out to Jane. This book is extraordinary. When it comes out, I want everybody to go get a copy. Once again, the title is The Metabolic Balance Kitchen: Deliciously Satisfying Recipes to Reset Your Metabolism, Fight Inflammation, and Lose Weight. It's coming out in December. The show should be live by December. Pick up a copy because it isn't just a cookbook. Yeah, actually, I think you're the first author I've had on my show that it's a cookbook. I have all the business authors on and shamans and things like this. So this is exciting to me because people can use this. It isn't just like, hey, cook for joy or whatever. This is really about health and nutrition. The recipes are incredibly simple. I love your breakfast, lineup because plain and simple, got a lot of apples.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I love that. Here, I got it. I have it up on my screen. Give me a second. Here we go. You have everything broken down into wonderful uh, areas here. You have breakfast salads, soups, sandwich wraps, handheld meals, main dishes, things like this. But uh, I gotta try, what was it? The apple oat delight. Gotta
Oh
try
yeah,
that. Uh, oysters, oyster mushrooms with ginger glaze. Hello.
yeah.
This stuff is easy to make, I noticed. Simple ingredients, and the way you approach it is 100% about nutrition and health. And it's delicious. I cannot argue on this. Crispy blackened salmon. I mean, come on, who doesn't love
Yeah.
stuff like that? How long did it take you, by the way, to come up with all these recipes? Because there's hundreds in here, and they're
So
photographed
yeah,
beautifully.
yeah.
And I'm
Well,
like,
and the beauty of it is the recipes are for single use. So I'm gonna go back a little bit. After I was working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients, they kept saying to me, Jane, I need recipes, I need recipes, I need recipes. And I thought, you know what? Not only do people need recipes, but they need to know about this program, because everybody knows about Weight Watchers, everybody knows about Ozempic, everybody knows about all the different programs out there. Everybody knows that some of them work and some of them don't work. But we know, as a metabolic balance coach, and it's been around for 20 years, this program is highly successful. So what I really wanted to do was to educate people, to help them understand that no matter at what state of health they're at today, they can change this in a dime just by picking up
yeah,
this book, start implementing these recipes, read the 8 rules, and will make a huge, huge difference. I just really personally wanted to get this information out there because, like me, for years, I took money from people, putting them on plans that didn't work. This
Right.
works. We know it works. They're happy clients. I don't have to, have to go looking for clients. And if they actually go and order the book today, so the launch is going to be December 17th, we're also going to give them 5 gifts. And
What?
yeah, they're going to get a gift. So they're going to get 8 of my favorite recipes. They're going to get an advanced copy of the first 30 pages. This will
What?
automatically happen of the ebook, and then look at the rest of the book on December. You're also going to get a document that is fantastic that one of our colleagues, Cherry Willis, did from Australia. And it's everything you need to know about metabolic balance. You're going to get a nice little sheet on the 8 rules. And in addition to that, many years ago, Ann Archer and I, she edited a book that I wrote called The Book on Confidence, Begins with Self-Esteem. So I wrote this book about 7 years ago, and you're going to also get a copy of that because your health also builds that self-esteem. The more self-esteem you have, the more you take care of yourself. So these are all free gifts if people go onto my website and order now, which is, we think we're pretty happy with that because we really want people to educate themselves about this program and to learn how they can change their lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take advantage of that. We go to janehealthcoach.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Go to janehealthcoach.com, ladies and gentlemen, and get your free gifts. This is an extraordinary offer simply because I've read through the whole cookbook and I'm like, I gotta try this. I gotta make this. And even if you change one thing,
Mm-hmm.
2 things, the water and how you eat, you're going to see dramatic results. Yeah, so take advantage of this, please, please, please. This is powerful. It's not just a cookbook; it's for your health. And if you want to live longer, you want to see your grandkids grow up, I suggest you get in there and learn from Jane. And also, if we wanted to hire you, if somebody wanted to hire you, just go to the website as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. Thank you for being on Awakened Nation. I got a few more questions.
Okay.
There are parents out there right now who have taken their kids to the doctors, and the doctors, kids aren't eating the way you and I grew up, and although we had Tang and we had Velveeta,
Yes, we did.
we are being bombarded with sugar and everything. And convenience has become the number one thing. So most of the, fast and quick is become the new mantra for people because we're just so darn busy. But I had a parent tell me, well, I took my kid to the doctor and my son is drinking Pepsi in the morning and eating Doritos. And all the doctor said was, well, at least he's eating. And this is not nutrition, folks. Name one ingredient in Doritos that's natural, please. I'll wait. Okay. Um, what do you? How can you help parents with this? Because I think they they love their children way beyond maybe themselves, so they might lean forward more into this work that you're doing.
Well, here's something funny first. You could take Dorito corn chips, crunch them up, and use them as fire kindling, and they will burn. Your food's not supposed to burn, period. Okay.
Yeah.
When I have a client who has a child with the same problem, the way I phrase it to make them feel not bad, it's not what you're doing, it's what you're missing. You're missing your fruit. You're missing your vegetables. You're missing the water. Why don't we get so and so to have 3 fruits a day?
Yeah.
Start getting him to eat 5 servings of vegetables a day. Make each plate colorful because if it's beige on the plate, it's not going to provide nutrition.
Right.
And when you think about that, bagels, muffins, cookies, French fries, pancakes, they're all beige. So instead of sort of, you know, hitting them hard, if they had 8 glasses of water, maybe they'll stop drinking the pop.
Right.
But, as we know, and as you mentioned, doctors are not educated in that, and they haven't made the connection between the brain and the gut health by drinking that stuff. And not only that's going to lead to malnutrition. Mostly, though, one of the big things, and I'm passionate about, is lack of minerals. And we know that our food supply is really lacking minerals. So the more fruit we
Yes.
can get kids to eat, the more vegetables we can get them to eat, or even getting them to participate in helping them make a salad or something that they like, a soup or a stew. Yeah, you really have to focus on it's not what you're doing, it's what you're missing. And
Right.
once a kid starts doing that, that's when the acne clears up. That's when they start having energy. I've had kids in here who want to fall asleep at like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Because they went to Starbucks and had 4 pumps of vanilla syrup and a cookie.
Yeah. You and I remember the day when they put sugar in soda,
Mm-hmm.
cane sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and they switched it all out for high fructose corn syrup,
Mm-hmm.
which is what is causing liver damage for people who
Mm-hmm.
have never drank. They don't drink alcohol. They're getting cirrhosis of the liver.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, how does that happen? High
Yeah.
fructose corn syrup. Um,
Yeah.
I find this astounding. And I've been around the medical community since I was a child. My best friend's father was a general practitioner. Besides my dad, I learned both sides of medicine, the naturopathic way and the general practitioner Western medicine way, and Chinese medicine. I've also learned about that. Don't you find it incredibly odd that the top medical colleges in the country, like Juniata, don't teach anything about nutrition? Are food combining, which is a big deal with Ayurvedic
Mm-hmm.
medicine. Um, what are you eating together? How are you combining foods?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's just like, oh, here's the latest fad. Why do you think that is?
Because I think the pharmaceutical industry has got their little paws into the schools and is supporting them. And this is the problem. And they're
Mm,
all
yeah,
learning. And if you've got any disease, here's the number one drug. It's
yeah,
just fast and easy, and it's the multi-billion-dollar industry. I think that, and I think truly some doctors really want to help this, but it's too much work now.
yeah. They get drowned out, or they
Yeah,
get ostracized, or they're called a quack or crazy.
yeah.
I remember watching a keynote speech at a Rotary meeting here in Vegas, and it was one of the guys who was the leading team or the team leader for Alzheimer's. And when he got up, the first thing out of his mouth is, "Yes, we found that Alzheimer's patients have a lot of aluminum in the brain. We're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about the cure and blah blah blah." And I realized, you know, this is what would happen in a logical country. They would look at everything we use that is made of aluminum that
Mm-hmm,
we are ingesting, and they would ban it.
mm-hmm,
Our aluminum cans,
mm-hmm,
our aluminum foil, our aluminum cookware like Calphalon, okay, our aluminum utensils. Although
mm-hmm.
these are micro particles, they build over time. And in a normal society, they would eliminate those products. But in our society, they say, well, let's invent a drug that counteracts the aluminum instead. So they
Yeah.
spend billions of dollars rather than getting rid of the actual cause. And
Yeah.
I just find this fascinating to me.
Well, and my bone of contention is my friend works for the Canadian Diabetics Association here, and most of the staff are overweight. And nobody ever wants to talk about nutrition. They
Yeah.
just want to talk about you getting on insulin. And there's very little information available. And even the information they give the patients here, they're telling them to eat 6 small meals. Well, we know with metabolic balance, in order for you to manage insulin, you can only have 3 meals, and it certainly can't be white bread because that has a glycemic index of 100. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to get a quick fix of sugar, but you're never going to get rid of your problem.
Right. Yeah. What drives me batty is whenever I see the head of a nutrition or health and wellness position, they are always obese. They always look like they're two sheets away from death. They have
Yeah,
big black circles under their eyes, which means their colon and their liver are not functioning properly. It's filled with poop.
yeah,
And they're usually a little bit out there. And I'm like, how is this person in charge of our health when they don't look healthy?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and and we seem to have a major disconnect, both in Canada and the United States, with this. Almost, I have to be honest, and I have a pet peeve, and you're going to laugh when you hear this. I don't let any doctor, nutritionist, or anybody touch me if they're sick or sicker than me or
yeah,
sick are obese. I don't let them touch me. I don't let them work on me. I don't let them do anything. And I think it
yeah,
has saved my life because most of the doctors that I have been to through my life are dead now. Just want to let you know.
yeah.
The average doctor, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, dies by 58. Did you know that?
No.
They won't tell you that because, as Dr. Wallach says, dead doctors tell no lies.
Hmm.
And so it's from stress, lack of nutrition, and an ungodly work habit sometimes.
Yeah.
They're dead by 58, and
Wow.
it's very bizarre. So sorry, we went into the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like
But it's
truth on the show, so we've
yeah,
been
but it's kind of like you wouldn't and I wouldn't hire a personal trainer who doesn't exhibit what we're looking for.
right.
And yet we go to the doctor and we don't have that same standard to them too, which is unfortunate,
It's
right?
like it's like white coat syndrome. We're like, oh, he's the authority.
Yeah,
I've literally had friends um, tell me certain things, and I went, well, go to this doctor. She'll probably get you on copper, magnesium, zinc, and calcium. I said because that's what's causing your problem. And they're like, no, I'm going to go to my doctor. And then the doctor doesn't do anything except tell them, eat steak and mashed potatoes or
yeah,
whatever, and you're just like, what is
yeah,
going on?
yeah.
Um, we have a huge disconnect in this country. And I just love and champion the work you're doing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you, Jane.
the book's been a couple years in the making. I forgot to answer that question, but sometimes you have to wait for great things. So,
Hey, it took me, let's see, probably my very first book was Liquid Leadership, and it was
okay.
all about modern business management. But I also delved really deeply into why this next generation, two, three generations, don't think like us, don't operate like us, don't do anything like us. And so that research probably just it started with stuff in the back of my head. I'd walk by a desk at my company and somebody would come in at 11 because they decided to stay up till 2 and 3 in the morning. Well, how is that my problem? And it's like I started to see behavior that just didn't make sense. So it started like that probably 10 years before I even started writing the book.
Hmm.
And then it took me 3 years to write the book, working like 5 days a week, 8 hours each day, taking a break
Wow.
once in a while. Sometimes I would take a month off, and because I discover something new that just will make me go, oh, I can't write in this direction. It's the wrong direction. So I understand the pains and the pulls and the all that stuff that it takes to make a great book. And by the way, the photography, the recipes. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you.
this is obviously a labor of love,
Yeah,
and it's beautifully done.
thank you.
And my hat's off to your publisher because I publish books as well, and this is really well done, well designed. I'm a 40 years veteran of being a designer, and I can tell you it's well done, well
Excellent.
done, consistently designed well. The photography looks mouth-watering. You want to eat it. I'm going to show the graphics while I'm talking about this, so people will go,
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
have to get this." so,
Yes.
so
Run, do not walk.
yes, Jane Durst Pulkys, thank you for being on Awakened Nation. I really appreciate this.
Thanks, Brad. I
You
appreciate
bet.
that. All right.
Now, I never let my guests go until I ask them three lightning round questions. Are you
Mm,
ready?
okay.
We got to get to know you better. So, my first question is, what do you do? Because you seem to be an open book pretty much, but is there anything that you do that nobody knows that you do? Like something super secret and cool and fun?
I go to 5 90-minute hot yoga classes a week. And it's not for the weak of heart.
You're obsessed. So now I have to ask this because the photos you sent me, your hair is all spiky. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, as someone who took the martial arts, and how do you keep your hair from not going flat completely, or do you wear a bandana and that's it?
So, I sweat so much that I have to have sometimes 2 showers a day. So that's what I do. You cannot walk out of that place without having a shower. So,
It's
yeah.
true. That's
That was an easy question.
that's
Next.
that's hilarious. Out of everything you've done in life, you've written several books, and what's your favorite memory in this world?
Wow, that's a great question. My favorite memory was growing up with 8 brothers and sisters, a dog, with the piano playing, the guitar going, the clarinet, someone jumping in the pool, and there was just so much joy and love and a little bit of competitiveness, but I loved growing up like that. And to this day, we all have an amazing relationship with each other. My parents always taught us to not hold a grudge, to
Yeah.
love and to forgive. So that would be one of my favorite memories.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I guess my last question is, what touches your heart?
I have a very strong spiritual faith, and I like to do a spiritual exercise every day. And I really love to listen to the voice of spirit guiding me because I believe that spirit is talking to us all the time, every day. We just have to have the ears to hear it. And I pay close attention to it. And it's dear to my heart and it guides my life so that I can become a more loving being.
Way to end the show, my friends. Jane Durst Pulkys, please reach out to her, and we'll have all that in the show notes. Thank you so much for being on Awakened Nation.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, everybody, don't forget to tune in next week, and we're going to have another extraordinary guest here on Awakened Nation. Until then, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye, Jane.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share this episode out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success is because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.